A few different women are really kicking ass in the Australian Open. One of those women is a 22-year-old by the name of Simona Halep. She is a Romanian, and recently she was doing a press interview to talk about her recent triumph in the Australian Open. And she got a few questions about her strategy and her sportsmanship and all of that. But then it turns out that some of the interview questions got a little degrading. Okay, so apparently in the past she had some sort of breast reduction surgery, and one of the reporters wanted to ask her about it. So let's take a look at the question. The reporter says, as your profile rises, people find out more about you. Your breast reduction surgery was 3 or 4 years ago. Does that play any part in your success? And Halep answers. She says, yeah, it was a long time ago, my breast reduction. I am happy for that. Now, if I have to do again for tennis, I would do. Yeah, it was a good decision for me. So I think that's a perfectly fine question, right?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
All right. But at this point, the reporter decides to go a little further, and I think she kind of crosses a line. The reporter says, what about outside the tennis? And Halep says, sorry? What about outside the tennis? Outside the tennis what?
I like that answer.
Yeah, and the reporter finally asks again, you said you would do it again, and she says, I don't want to say anything about this, and then she laughs. Why are you asking about her breast reduction surgery and how it impacts her life outside of tennis? Why is that relevant to anyone? That's not an appropriate question to ask.
Okay, so that's obvious. But I'm now going to use outside the tennis as a code word. But what about outside the tennis? So whenever I want to ask about somebody's sex life, how about outside the tennis?
So that's one example. There was one other tennis player that was asked a pretty inappropriate question. It's a 19-year-old by the name of Eugenie Boujard. And a reporter asked her the following. You're getting a lot of fans here. A lot of them are male, and they want to know, if you could date anyone in the world of sports, of movies, I'm sorry, they asked me to say this, who would you date?
Not guilty.
And she answered Justin Bieber, which I think is
guilty.
which is the most unfortunate part of the story. But look, I think that some of the concerns are valid because a lot of these women are now, really kicking ass in tennis, and they want to talk about that, right? They want to talk about what they've done in terms of their training to get to where they are, right? How excited they are for the future of their athletic careers. But instead of asking about those things, I mean, look, how often do you get those questions if you're a guy? How often, like, hey, well, we heard that, you're concerned about your penis size. What's going on with your penis? Like, no one's going to ask you that question.
Why? Is somebody concerned about their penis size?
I mean,
no.
Some people might be. But
No, they asked Tom Brady who he's dating and stuff like that. So, I'm not buying this story. Look,
but do Tom Brady's interviews often devolve into questions about who he's dating and what's going on in his personal life?
When he was breaking up with Bridget Moynihan and starting going with Giselle Bundchen, yes, all the time.
Yeah, but this 19-year-old Canadian tennis player isn't breaking up with anyone. It just randomly came up.
But I got bad news for you, which I'm going to break to you, okay? I've seen dudes watch female tennis. 90% of the conversation is about how hot the women are. Okay, so are people interested in the attractiveness of the female tennis players? Right or wrong, they most certainly are.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. I mean, why go out of your way to be good at what you do if it always devolves into the way you look, right? Okay. No, that's a good point. No, it's reality, though. It's totally reality. It's always about who you're fucking. Have you gained weight? Have you had any work done? Right? That's way more important than anything else that you do. And yes, I sound like a huge fucking bitch, but that's the reality for women, and it's a little frustrating.
Okay, you don't sound like a bitch. I understand you're frustrated.
No, I do, and I'm sure a bunch of people are saying that I do, but it is frustrating because believe me, you want to work really hard and you want to get noticed for the work that you do, right? So if a tennis player just kicked ass in a game and she wants to talk about it, it's a little degrading to, first of all, get asked about your breast reduction, which I said that was a fine question when it comes to how it impacted her game, right? Mm-hmm. But then to go on and be like, oh, so what's going on with your breasts outside of tennis? Like, come on.
Okay. You're right. At the same, I don't know what to, it's a reality.
It is a reality.
It is a reality. So so we have to keep it real. It doesn't mean that it's the right thing, but I live among them. I live among the guys.
So should the reporters cater to the people that don't give a shit about the sport, or a woman's athletic ability and just care about her personal life? Should they cater to them?
Well, like for example, Anna Kournikova, right? The main thing about Anna Kournikova was how hot she was, okay? And so she was like, what was she, number 17, whatever. She wasn't like number 1. They wouldn't have talked about her if she wasn't that hot. Do you see what I'm saying? So, like, oh, number 17 in the world, how's your tennis game going? Let's keep it real. Everybody talks about her because of her attractiveness.
And is that fair, right? So if people are playing better than her and they're not getting any attention, is it fair that Anna Kournikova is getting attention as a shitty tennis player?
Yeah, I don't. First of all, number 17 is not really shitty, to be
Well,
fair.
I don't
I'm
know.
making that up. I don't know what number she was. She was good. She just wasn't among the best, from what I remember. Anyway, look, I've watched tennis, female tennis with guys, and last thing is, to be fair to guys too. Yes, they definitely talk about how if they're hot, that's the first thing they talk about and probably the last thing they talk about. But in the middle, they talk about whether they're good or not, good at tennis. So a little bit of both.